Hey, good morning. I will call our Agriculture Service Board meeting January 14th to order. Oh, I forgot, just a second. This meeting is recorded and may be posted on official Wheatland County social media channels. Agriculture Service Board is conducting this meeting by a conference call in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, Section 199. Council chambers is open for public attendance in person while continuing to use current telecommuting processes in place. So welcome, everyone. We have an agenda before us. Are there any changes? Not motion to accept?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Member Greer. We have a motion before us. We have two members participating remotely, so we'll do roll call votes, and we'll do it as we have where we just go around the room with our remote people chiming in their appropriate places. So I'm in favor.
In favor.
In favor?
I'm in favor.
In favor.
In favor?
In favor.
In favor.
That is passed. Thanks, everyone. We have minutes from our Wheatland Ag Service Board meeting minutes from October 14th. Are there any errors or omissions?
I'll move the minutes as presented.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? I'll call the question. I'm in favor.
In favor.
In favor?
In favor.
In favor?
In favor.
In favor.
That's carried. Thank you. We also have minutes to our November 12th organization meeting minutes. Are there any errors or omissions? Board's wishes?
Move approval of the November 12th, 2025 Wheatland County Agricultural Service Board organizational meeting minutes.
Thank you. Discussion? I'll call the question. I'm in favor.
In favor.
In favor?
In favor.
In favor.
In favor?
In favor.
In favor.
That's carried. Thank you. We have presentations today, and our first is Christine Campbell, representative of Alice Canada. Sorry to keep you waiting. Our previous meeting went over, but appreciate you coming in. Thank you so much. So when you just need to push the button to have a green light, you've got it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for having me here today. I'm kind of doing the circuit going around to ASBs and councils and giving a bit of an Alice update, making sure that everybody's very aware of what the program is and does. And I know several of you are quite involved with Alice already, so apologies for anything that feels like a repeat, but want to make sure that everyone is kind of on the same page. So thanks for having me. I apologize. I realized when I saw that I didn't update the date on the bottom of that slide, so I can do that for a version I send to you. So I'll just start with a little bit of a recap of what Alice is. So starting with the projects, how we do what we do. So as an organization ourselves, Alice is a national charitable organization, and we work with communities on the ground to actually deliver the program. So the community is, in this case, Wheatland County, and you are the owners of your Alice program. And we work together to help farmers and ranchers deliver nature-based solutions on their landscape. Our vision is really working towards a future where farmers and ranchers are actually being recognized for the ecosystem services that they're producing. So the things like cleaner water, biodiversity, cleaner air, that kind of thing. And that's actually being recognized on kind of a global stage too, as solutions towards some of the crises that we are facing as a world. So our mission, how we do that, is working directly with farmers and ranchers to build those solutions on their landscape. And then we work with them to really position them as environmental solutions providers. And we do that at scale, working across partnerships at various levels. There's over 200 partnerships in Alberta, which is pretty cool. We do that by making sure that the quantification of the ecosystem services is accurate and transparent, and ultimately helping to drive that all into investment back into farmers and ranchers who are able to provide these services. And ALICE does not take good agricultural land out of production. Our whole concept is that on every farm, there are some areas that are marginal for agricultural production, whether that's true marginal soils, or it's just that weird little corner that you can't turn the tractor around in, or it's an ecologically sensitive area, like a buffer to a stream or a creek. Those are the areas that are ideal for ALICE. We also are not really a conservation organization. We're really about moving that needle beyond just conserving something great to actively using the producer's skill sets to produce more out of nature. So farmers and ranchers are this really unique group who produce things from nature every day. And really what we're trying to do is develop another commodity that they're able to produce on the farm. And of course, the people are really the real powerhouse behind ALICE, and it's what's so unique about the program is the whole model itself. So ALICE recognizes not just that value of nature, but it's valuing those who are actually producing it. So that's the farmer and rancher themselves. Around community building, building up that farmer engagement, and helping that peer-to-peer knowledge transfer happen. And those are really at the core. Everything that we do is really driven by those values. So really that belief that environmental activity is economic activity. There is no separation between church and state in this case. What we do for the environment on our farms ultimately also impacts the economics of our farm, both in the short and the long term. We really value collaboration over competition. I was having a conversation with a fellow NGO director yesterday, and we were kind of waxing philosophical, but our goal at the end of the day is actually to work ourselves out of a job where there's no more good work to be done. But sadly, that's not the case. There's plenty of work to go around. So we don't funding landscapes and stuff like that are certainly a challenge, but really we get more done by collaborating. And we believe that the solutions really happen locally. So what's happening here in Wheatland County really makes a difference overall. We recognize that that long-term prosperity is of greater value than just kind of short-term gains. So we really we're in it for the long haul with everything that we do with ALICE. My boss once said in response to seeing some cows and fish repairing health assessment data, wow, nature moves slowly, but also quickly. I thought was really sage advice because it kind of encapsulates how our ALICE projects work. Sometimes you look at them and you're like, what are we doing here? And then 5 years later, you're like, whoa, that's quite the difference. We also really value community delivery and autonomy. So we believe that the farmers and ranchers in a local area are the best people to be making decisions for farmers and ranchers in the local area. It's a novel concept, but apparently that is fairly unique to ALICE. And slow and steady wins the race. So taking the time now to kind of do things right will get us there in the long term. We also have this set of principles that all of our communities are guided by. This really helps guide all of our decision making. They're kind of peppered throughout, so I won't touch too much on them other than to say that ALICE is a voluntary program. So participation in the program does not mean that they have to sign on to something that's going on their title. It's very, very low barrier to entry. And I love this quote from Sean McGrath. He was, I believe, actually our very first participant in Alberta, in County of Vermilion River. Sean says that most farmers are doer environmentalists at heart. And I think that's why ALICE resonates so well with them. It's very practical, very boots on the ground kind of mindset. But what's really most important to the program is that every community running an ALICE program has a partnership advisory committee, and several members here today. We call that the PAC. The PAC is the powerhouse of the ALICE cell. They are the ones that are making the decisions for the program at the local level. Our only rule really for the PAC is that it has to be at least 50% farmers or ranchers, because we want to make sure that those decisions stay with farmers and ranchers and that the program is really driven by that community. They're the folks that are reviewing individual projects, making those individual decisions, approving projects and that kind of thing. They also help to promote the program and get it out there to the community, and provide support at local tours and events and things like that. And what's neat about ALICE in terms of the projects that we do is that they can be really creative. There's not really a set list of projects that you can do with ALICE, which is quite different to lots of other programs, which are fairly prescriptive, and you select one of 5 project types, 10 project types, whatever. Last year, I actually tried to sit down and finally make like a menu of ALICE projects and pull them all together. And I stopped when I hit 26 pages because I decided that that was kind of ridiculous. I like to think of it as the Disneyland model. If you can dream it, you can do it. If it improves ecosystem services, then potentially it could be an ALICE project. And whether it is or isn't depends on the PAC and whether they feel that that's a good fit for community priorities, what the farm needs, and that kind of thing. So it's the farmer or rancher that's identifying those areas that are best suited for projects. So when I said that we work on marginal land, that marginal is defined by the farmer. So again, it might be soils, but it might also just be because that corner is a pain in the butt to get your tractor into. Those participant agreements are flexible. So we do 5-year terms that get renewed at the end of their 5 years. But if something changes, on the farm, in personal life, whatever, all of the contracts have essentially exit clauses. So they can come back and say, hey, I can't do this anymore. I need out. And it really allows the program to be as nimble as possible and responsive. So if there's a local need, you're not stuck in kind of like a bureaucratic cycle. And of course, the program is driven by our program coordinators as well. You guys are very lucky because you have one of the best, Sarah. She's phenomenal, working with the producers themselves, going out doing site visits, doing all the reporting, all the administrative lifts, all the contracts, an incredible amount of work. And then, of course, the value of ALICE too is that all of the communities are supported through a whole peer network. So you have a peer of 42 other communities that are delivering the program that can provide support, as well as our national staff. So usually what ASB is interested in is the money, how does it flow and how does that work? Who's paying? The details. So let's dive into that. So ALICE is a market-driven approach. I like to think of it as the farmer's market of ecosystem services. So it's essentially, we're kind of that meeting place where a farmer doesn't have to shop around and take their project to the people who are interested in pollinators, and then the people who are interested in carbon, and then the people who are interested in water. They can walk through one door and access all of that kind of funding in one fell swoop, one easy contract. That's very appealing to the farmer who has a million things to do and does not need to spend all that time trying to parse all these programs apart and chase everything. And then from the producer or from the funder's perspective, they likewise also can access this big network of people who actually have the ability to deliver the outcomes that they're wanting. So whether that's water quality outcomes, water quantity outcomes, pollinator outcomes, biodiversity outcomes, whatever, because we have such a wide and diverse network, you name it, we probably got it. So that really allows businesses to invest in local solutions. So how that looks for the farmer is kind of a two-pronged approach. The first is that we help them with their project establishment. So that's a cost share. It's usually 50-50 with the producer, although that percentage is technically determined by the PAC. The reason we do a 50-50 cost share as opposed to just paying for projects outright, well, one, of course, it helps your budget last a little bit longer. You can actually accomplish more and help more producers. But more important to that, it makes sure that the producer has some skin in the game. So they're selecting projects that actually make sense for their operation. They're not doing something, just for program sake. And then the part that's pretty unique to Alice is an annual payment. So they actually get paid every year for producing the ecosystem services that they do on their landscape. So it's kind of an all-in payment for their suite of ecosystem services. It's often loosely based around land rental rates, like as kind of a starting point, and then the PAC determines from there based on what the land was used for before, what the project's doing, and that kind of thing. So like I said, it's a single solution for both funders and farmers. Think of it as a funnel approach. We're making it really easy so they can just walk through one door. And so how that works, who's interested in funding Alice? They can be a variety of reasons. They might actually be looking at it from kind of a market perspective, whether they have voluntary or compliance reasons for making sure that their impact on the earth is offset for some reason. It might be governments who are interested in more that social value and that public good benefit. Or it might be foundations or nonprofit organizations who have an interest in a particular impact or outcome. So they might be interested in wildlife, they might be interested in habitat, whatever their interest is. And it might even be the social side, engaging with farmers and ranchers themselves. So all of those guys bring some revenue in. Alice is one point of entry for that. So they can kind of donate through our national organization, and then we send that out to the communities, or they could donate at the community level too. So when it comes from us, that goes out to the Alice communities, and then you dole that out to farmers based on their projects. And then the farmers get to work, they do their projects, they get their outcomes. But what's really special is kind of the social piece of this. So it's a whole program of people who are working together towards some common outcomes, which is pretty great. So, and of course that's it's a two-way street in terms of our relationship, Alice Canada and Wheatland County. So Alice is providing things like some money for either program delivery, projects, whatever the case may be, access to our proprietary database system, which helps to track everything in a way that we can roll that up and package that out to funders and access those markets on behalf of the producers. We provide support, so we have ongoing support from people like myself and our communications team, our fundraising team, all of those kinds of things. And all of that kind of builds out that access point to the to the funders for the producers. And ultimately, it's kind of packaged as this turnkey program that you can just go and deliver. Sounds so simple, right, Sarah? And then in return, basically what you're sending back to us is on the administrative side, doing some budgeting and targeting, setting aside kind of some goal setting. What are your acre goals for the year? How much money do you need to make that work? You might be doing some local fundraising, engaging that pack, recognizing your farmers at the local level and working with them, doing their site visits, making sure they get their acres in the ground, that kind of thing. And then you're kind of ultimately like the products that you're sending back to us would be the acres through a reporting process. So I like to think of it, we're kind of a team of 3 moving in one direction. So I like the cattle dog analogy. So we have the producer who's putting in the real work on the ground, their cost sharing to get that project established. They're doing their maintenance every year, and they're repurposing their marginal land. We have the municipality who is providing both direct and indirect program support. So direct program support might look like wage that you actually set aside as Alice in your budgets. Indirect program support would be things like this beautiful meeting room that we help account for through our reporting process that ultimately helps you unlock additional funds because it counts as matching. And then Alice, we do the same thing. We are providing direct support. So those are dollars that we allocate to you every year for projects or for the program needs. As well as the indirect support. So people like myself that are helping to support the program and all the pieces and infrastructure that we've built kind of to date. So I kind of just said that, but some of that indirect stuff that we're contributing is things like our third-party verification, our program resource guide, all the research and evaluation into quantifying ecosystem services that we do, political, federal engagement, and that kind of thing. So, and it speaks to funders because they have lots of different reasons to fund a program. And so through that whole process and that whole network, we're able to kind of appeal to almost any kind of funder, whether they're interested in offsetting their impacts, supporting agriculture, building relationships within a community that they're working in, interested in habitat, etc. So we always aim to have a kind of a wide range of funders, and they do vary from year to year and community to community. These are some of the funders that we had in 2025, and the ones highlighted in red here are specifically the ones that were funding Wheatland County. So we had the Government of Alberta, mostly through the WRRP, or Watershed Resiliency and Restoration Program. We had RDAR, the Results-Driven Agricultural Research Program. And then we had some funds from Alice ourselves. So those are funds that we're able to kind of unlock through our system. Because we're a nonprofit, anytime we're able to kind of find an extra dollar, that just gets reinvested into the program. And so we're able to support communities in that way. And of course, we've been doing this for a long time, over 20 years. So we were very grateful to our foundational supporters and other benefactors and supporters that come along the way. So this whole process is a little bit of a dynamic process. So back in November, roughly, I asked Sarah to gaze into the crystal ball and try to tell me what's going to happen in 2026. She comes up with some estimates of acres and dollars that are needed at kind of a range of scale. We take that information back, we work with our funders, we do fundraising, we try to get as many funds as possible. In probably end of February, beginning of March, we'll be able to give your preliminary allocations. So those are dollars that are confirmed in the bank, ready to go at that point. But throughout the year, additional funders often come in. So it's very much an iterative process. And then we have our interim report and our final report process. It's kind of like two formal points where we can make changes, but we can make changes throughout the year. So, and that might be on our side, like more funding comes in as an example, or it might be on Wheatland County's side as well. So sometimes we have communities that have higher or lower project demand than what they had done and what they had thought in their crystal ball exercise. Sometimes we have communities that have had agricultural disasters declared and, you know, things like that. So there's lots of things that can impact that on the ground. One of the challenges when you're trying to deliver on these kinds of grants independently is that there's not a whole lot of wiggle room. So if that producer doesn't get their project in the ground, oops, that's too bad. That you might have to send that money back to, you know, government of Alberta or whoever it's coming from. One of the values of Alice is because we have this network, we almost never have to do that because we have a number of communities that are delivering on the ground. So if, say, Rocky View County, you know, called and said, hey, we over targeted and we're not actually going to be able to use all that funding, I might be able to call Sarah and be like, hey, do you have an extra project on your waiting list? And she might be like, yeah. She always says, yes, please. So that, you know, it really allows for lots of that kind of flexibility. And with that, of course, there is a matching funding kind of like obligation with the Alice program. So the producers are matching, and then our Alice contributions into Wheatland County are expected to be matched by local sources as well. So those can come from your direct program support, like say staff salary or things like that, or indirect support, meeting room and kind of estimates of overhead costs, can be in-kind costs from technical advisors on your PAC, and that kind of thing. So in 2024, I don't have the 2025 numbers up yet, but we sent out over 7.2 million out to communities from Alice Canada, which was pretty cool. So like I said, municipalities can contribute in a number of different ways. Most commonly in Alberta, just because of the municipal structure, the municipalities are paying for the program coordinator salary just because with those NGO budgets, like we're working on that annual cycle as I just described, and that can be difficult to manage in a municipal budget. So it's easier if that's kind of taken care of in a more stable municipal budget. And then our Alice program support fee, which is a $5,000 a year fee that helps us to get that fundraising back to you. And then, yeah, just kind of supporting the program overall. So all of this is building tons of momentum, and you might recognize that little cutie who I'm like desperately trying to convince my husband we need one. So we're delivering lots of impact on the ground. So over $37 million in total has been distributed to Alice communities via Alice Canada. We have over 20,000 acres just in modified agricultural practices, over 57,000 acres total in the Alice system, over 2,000 farmers and ranchers participating. So people are quite literally voting with their boots to participate in the program, which is pretty cool. That's also happening at the community level. So here in Alberta, we've had tremendous interest in the program. So we have 42 communities overall. 18 of those are in Alberta in 21 municipalities. A few of those municipalities work together as one community. So that's why you might hear both of those numbers tossed around. And I'll just highlight quickly some engagement that we've been doing. On the provincial side, we've had several meetings with ministers. This is Minister Sigurdsson, Agriculture and Irrigation. We've met with, well, former Minister Schultz for Environment and Protected Areas. We have met with Grant Hunter as well, who is taking over her position. We met with Minister Lowen from Forestry and Parks and Minister Wilson from the former Minister of Municipal Affairs. That's also changed. But what's been great about that, like in terms of like seeing the outcomes of that kind of work, is that we have been very strongly supported by the WRP program, Watershed Resiliency and Restoration Program, both at the national level and at the community level. I know Sarah's been very successful getting WRP funding specifically for Wheatland County. So that's amazing. Been doing lots of advocacy there, and to the point that during the last round of funding that we applied for, we were actually the largest single grant recipient in that tranche, which was pretty great. They also have recently announced this ecosystem services grant program. Now, I don't know if we'll be recipients of that yet. Like, I really hope so. If you know anyone, nudge, nudge, we would like it, please. But what's really cool about that program is that it's written for Alice. If you read it, it's payment for ecosystem services. It is essentially exactly what we are doing. So I am very hopeful that we'll get that. But even just seeing that kind of language in a government grant program is a huge win. When I started with Alice 10 years ago, we would never have seen that. It was it wasn't even really on their radar to consider this payment for ecosystem services model. So it's amazing. The other thing that was interesting was their Resilient Agricultural Landscapes program. That was a program under the Sustainable Canadian Agricultural Partnership, which is a federal, provincial to territorial initiative. That is a program that was run by the government. They didn't just hand it over to Alice, although they could have, would have been nice. But what we found was that they delivered it for 1 year, and they quickly realized that they didn't really have the administrative capacity to deal with that. So they reached out to us and actually asked us to assist with program application support because of our relationship with producers on the ground. So that was a really big coup as well. We've also been doing a lot of federal advocacy. I am just personally less aware of that, so I won't really go into it. Intermunicipal partnerships has also kind of taken off. We're seeing more and more examples of municipalities working together to deliver the ALICE program. So that's been a neat thing. And of course, the work is really predicated on all of the partners that support it. Many of whom sit on our PACs and things like that. Oops. So just a really quick glance into the future, because I recognize I'm taking so much time. Our new CEO as of April 1st, 2025 is Jordan Sinclair. So we're really excited to have her. If you did have the pleasure of meeting Brian Gilvasi, who is our former CEO, he is still around. He's still very much helping us and guiding us as our chief strategy officer. So he's doing a lot of that kind of federal advocacy and fundraising support and that kind of thing. The one piece of opportunity that I really still see for municipalities is using ALICE to really maximize how natural infrastructure benefits the municipality. So there is a ton of opportunity to look at other municipal issues that you might be facing and think about how ALICE might be able to support it. So, some of the examples might be culverts that are constantly getting overloaded. Could we look at ways of building some sediment trap using natural infrastructure upstream? Bank erosion or road washout issues, snow fences, blowing snow on the highway, looking at living snow fences to reduce that blowing snow and ultimately, collisions and that kind of thing. Looking at water treatment and water quality issues, or building in more water reserves for drought conditions, kind of that long-term play for flood and drought mitigation. Or even things like wildlife conflict resolutions. Like the number of times I hear people, my neighbor has beavers and they're flooding my land, and and they're asking the county to come dynamite. Maybe there's some other options like pond levelers and things like that. We've also, over the last few years, been able to test out some new techniques. So we work very much on the edge of farms, looking at that marginal land. But through our partnership with Cargill and A&W, we were able to test out adaptive multi-paddock grazing and ultimately add that as a new project type. Simultaneously in the prairies, in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, they're testing some regenerative agriculture on cropping. And so just to kind of sum up, the ALICE model really is working, and it's working because it's local and because it's trusted and because it's enduring. It hasn't been a program that, comes and goes after, a 4-year political term or something like that. So that's really built the trust with producers. So thank you very much for having me. And if there's any questions about ALICE, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you.
First off, Christine, thank you for presenting here today. One of the things you mentioned was there's a low barrier entry. What is the exit? Like, is it a 5-year minimum or a 10-year minimum, just for info purposes?
Yeah, for sure. So the producer signs a 5-year agreement to do their project. And ideally, at the end of that 5-year term, we renew it. So it could go for 10 years, 15 years, whatever. However, if something happens, let's say health fails halfway through their project term, and they say, I cannot go on with this project. All they would do is, call Sarah. I think our contract says, 60 days notice or whatever, 30 days notice. Yeah, just to say that they're closing. What would happen then if they're in their first 5-year agreement, the annual payments would just stop kind of immediately. They wouldn't get any more subsequent annual payments, and those would be redirected to another project. And the establishment costs, that's kind of up to the PAC. Our contract does have like a provision in it where they might have to repay a prorated portion of those. In practice, I've never seen it happen because it's just probably not worth it. And our attrition rate in terms of the people actually leaving the program is less than 1%. So it's almost like a non-issue, but.
Thank you. One other question. Do you have any idea how much money was spent in Wheatland County in 2024, or even go to 23 if it's growing so fast, maybe 2024 numbers are more important. Thank you.
Yeah, it is growing fast. You know what? I meant to look that up right before this call, so it would be fresh in my mind.
So for people on the line, Sarah's
Yes.
just kind of giving an estimate that maybe it was $60,000 in 2024 and $45,000 in 2025. We have over 2,000 acres.
Yeah. So, and those dollars do vary. I mean, as a charitable organization, our dollars to you are a little bit fluctuating based on, kind of the overall granting climate. 2025 was not the best year. Yeah.
Thank you, Christine. Got a couple of questions because I'm new to this crazy thing and I don't even know what ALICE really stands for. Number one, I see it. I talk to a gentleman every so often and he's got ALICE on his shirt. So all I see is the acronym. And I've got a piece of land at home that has never been broke. Buffalo roamed around it, actual water feed to it. And I'm trying to keep it from getting killed by gophers. But I'm not sure what kind of a project it would even qualify for if there was a project. But just saying, it's the neatest little. I even put posts on it and call it pasture golf and have people come out and play pasture golf on and where the grazing things are. But if anybody, I have no idea what the kind of programs you're talking about would integrate with the old farm I've got.
So I think you bring up such a good point because it's probably the hardest part about ALICE being such a flexible and creative program is how do you communicate that to a producer and how do they see themselves with a project, because what is that project? I would recommend chatting with Sarah because she's a mastermind with those kinds of things. But I think of hawk poles being a great example. It might be some grazing. It might be, I think there's definitely some things there. In terms of what ALICE stands for, It's the one thing, if I could change anything in our program, it would be our name. It originally stood for Alternative Land Use Services, but now it is actually just our name. Like it's our legal name is Alice, spelt like an acronym. It's very confusing.
Awesome. Any other? Yep, go ahead, Counselor or Commissioner.
Just a question on your, you explained your cost sharing and stuff, but if a producer, for example, if you were going to use a wetland, the cost to separate that would be significantly less than if you were, for example, trying to fence a riparian area. I mean, it's going to be significantly more expensive. Does your cost sharing model take that into account?
Yeah, so it can. I mean, that's kind of up for the PAC to decide. I don't know if any of the PAC members want to speak to how you've approached that specifically.
So what we typically do is we have different rates. So for example, if there was something like a situation where the fencing didn't make economical sense and we still wanted to run animals, then there may be an agreement in place, but the be reduced if there were livestock still accessing it, for example. To Christine's point, every Alice is going to have a different approach to it. That's how our county would work with the producer on figuring out the right rate pending the project and the commitment made to whether or not it's still actively being used or completely excluded, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and most of on the annual payment side, most PACs have separate rates for like land that's currently in crop versus currently in pasture, riparian rates and that kind of thing. So they kind of deal with it from that perspective. I have also seen some PACs develop things like cost maximums and things like that just to make things a little bit easier. But there's lots of flexibility at the PAC to look at that individual nuance of a project, which I think is actually kind of the salient point here. So a lot of programs, especially when we think of like some of the government programs that are out there that are very much like you tick a box, you have to do this exact thing, no deviation. You know, one of the great examples I've thought of is, or I've seen personally, is watering systems. Like a program might pay for a watering system, but I've seen producers are the most creative, intelligent, and efficient people I have ever met. So I've seen producers who have come up with like DIY versions where they've built a watering system out of materials on hand, and that has not been eligible through these programs because it was cheaper than what they were expecting, which seems completely insane to me. But and my experience with that RELP program has really kind of like driven this home for me. When you're looking at, 2,000 applications around the province and you have 3 people looking at them, you have to have those kind of really distinct monikers. When you have somebody who's local and understands the nuance of, why a certain practice wouldn't work in a certain location or like those kinds of things, they have the ability to make that nuanced decision and make it the right decision, if that makes sense. Hopefully.
You know that television show MacGyver, they got all their ideas by walking around watching farmers fix things.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much for coming in, Christine. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
One of my favorite quote from one of our Alice producers is that Alice doesn't make you do anything. They make you want to do something. So that will stick with me probably forever. So thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it. I'll just look for a motion from the floor to accept the presentation as information, please.
I'll move to accept the Alice Canada presentation as information.
Thanks very much. Is there any discussion on that? I'll call the question. I'm in favor.
In favor.
In favor?
I'm in favor.
In favor?
In favor?
In favor.
In favor.
That's carried. Thank you. Our next presenter is our own Sarah Schumacher. She's going to give us an update on our ASB programs and services. And you'll just need to hit your microphone there. Yeah.
Okay, so I thought that as there's a couple new ASB members and a new manager of agriculture and environment, I pulled one of Russ Muntrath's presentations out from retirement. And this is a presentation that forever we've just given to new ASBs. So it's a little bit of a historical overview of the ASB in Wheatland County. So the Ag Service Boards were established in 1946 as a way to deal with mostly the Canada thistle and then also a few other soil conservation issues that we're having at the time in the province. So you can see one of the first ones was in the kind of idea started in 1943. And so they've been around for a long time now. So the ASB roles and responsibilities is to advise the council on the kind of agriculture in the county, to develop programs and services for the local ratepayers, and then also to, what did I say? Yeah, advocate for agriculture to the provincial government. So the role of the ASB members is to consider the welfare and interests of the municipality as the whole, develop policies and programs to meet the needs of the municipality, participate in ASB meetings and other kind of subcommittees, and yeah, sort of communicate with council and also with the ratepayers. So the history of the Ag Service Board at Wheatland County goes back to 1946. It wasn't necessarily specifically Wheatland County, but it was in the region. So 80-year-old history. And something that Russ was always super proud of was this is our Wheatland County brand, and it's one of the oldest in the province, and it's also unique. And I can't remember why it was that it was unique, but I think it might be that the G is forward facing. And yeah, so it dates back to 1946, and it's been transferred a few times, but it still is owned by Wheatland County. And you can see it's on our shop at our Ag Service Board shop. So the first Ag Service Board was the Municipal District of Bow Valley, and in 1946, and you know, some of those names are still common names in Wheatland County today. And you can see these are super old pictures of road construction crew way back. And so, yeah, those original programs were for the control of warblefly and then kind of roadside reclamation projects. So, and then it was ended following the Second World War just due to labor shortage. So the Municipal District of Wheatland, I think their first meeting was held in 1956, and so you can still see some of the same names there. And those programs included weed control and roadside seeding, and still dealing, you know, with some of the same issues as before. And there's some, I don't think this goes back to 1956, this picture, but I don't know, maybe it does. We certainly have better equipment today. Yeah, so I'm just going to run through these really quick, but the County of Wheatland, so that was 1961 to 1965. And so, and just kind of over the years, I don't know why the pictures aren't showing up here. Anyways, kind of the format of the Ag Service Board changes, but a lot of the issues kind of continue to still be the same. So here's, yeah, a picture from 1986. Lots of the same names. 1994, you can see there's little Russell there. Yeah, you see like Barry Van Laar, he's been involved for a really long time. The former ag fieldman, Jim Laszlo. And then, yeah, 1998 to 2000, there used to be a member of staff. Well, what was Brenda? Oh, never mind. Okay, so there's the next rendition. There's Glenn. That's when Glenn shows up. And then our latest one, and I realized we never got a picture of the last Ag Service Board. So I think next April, we need to put it on the agenda. Okay, so the ASB legislated duty. So those are legislation that we're following the provincial legislation. So we act as an advisory body to assist council and the Minister of Agriculture, and it's now Agriculture and Irrigation, in matters of mutual concern. So we advise and assist and organize on weed control, pest control, soil and water conservation programs, and also the Animal Health Act. So you can develop agricultural policies and programs that meet the needs of our municipality. So the Ag Service Board Act allows us to create our Ag Service Board and transfers authority to the county under those acts. And those acts so include the Weed Control Act, the Agricultural Pest Act, the Soil Conservation Act, and then to assist with the Animal Health Act. So the legislated duties of the agricultural fieldman / manager of agriculture and environmental services is to act as a designated officer of the county when carrying out the functions, duties, and powers of the county under those legislations. So the Soil Conservation Act imposes a duty upon every landowner to take appropriate measures to prevent soil loss. And so anytime there's an instance where you have, you can see if somebody's having some erosion issues on their land, then under that act, our designated officer can go and inspect that land and work with that landowner to come up with a solution for mitigating that soil loss. But it also applies to our own land, so our roadside ditches. And so those are our duties under the Soil Conservation Act. Under the Weed Control Act, the act aims to regulate noxious weeds, which are weeds that as a landowner you have to control them from going to seed and from spreading. And a prohibited noxious weed is a weed there's no tolerance for those species. And so the noxious weeds are weeds that are already fairly widely established, but we're still able to control them. So it's not a dandelion, but it's the Canada thistle or the common toadflax or common tansy. Those are weeds that we still have the ability to manage those populations. And the prohibited noxious weeds are weeds that really haven't been established in the province yet, or not widely established anyways. So those are weeds that are prioritized because we really don't want them to get established here. And then we also have the ability as a municipality to elevate certain plants that aren't already included under the Weed Control Act. And then it also allows us to appoint weed inspectors which all of our staff have been appointed as weed inspectors, which allows us to enter private land without prior approval. So the Agricultural Pest Act is the act under the minister. They can declare an animal, a bird, an insect, or a plant that has economic impact to agriculture as a pest. So there are native species on those lists as well as introduced species. And that act also enables inspectors to inspect private land. So our staff in the summertime do inspections for grasshoppers, and then also for clubroot and fusarium. So under the Health Act, because we're not necessarily the specialists in those areas, under the Act, we're designated as an authorized person, so we can assist if there's like a large outbreak of a disease or a mass mortality. Oh, there's that pig again. He's just so happy. So our Wheatland County Ag Service vision is the Wheatland County Agricultural Service Board is committed to strengthening, promoting, and supporting agriculture and the environment within our municipality with a view to continually improve how we operate in future years. And our mission is the ASB develops and implements programs and policies that focus on areas of weed, pests, soil, and water conservation and environmental issues with the benefit of all residents. We work in partnership through good communication with other government agencies, the agricultural industry, and residents. So our ASB goals, I don't know if you've all been through them. I don't know if you want me to reread them, but they are on our website and basically meet the needs of our mission and vision statement. Okay, so in 2025, we had submitted an ASB grant and strategic plan to Alberta Agriculture and Irrigation for a 5-year term. So that funding covers a portion of our costs to run and operate our programs. So our strategic priority 1 is to update vegetation and pest management programs. So straw shredding, fiber mulch, and eco-tack for soil erosion control of roadside ditches and borrow areas, enhance agricultural communications, increase local agricultural and environmental technical support, promote the local agricultural industry, and resource management improvements. And then the goals under that plan are basically in line with our duties under the Act. And these goals are set by the province. So we just have to let them know how we're going to meet them. So our soil conservation programs are mostly grass seeding, roadside ditches and borrow areas that are associated with our roadside construction. So we do straw shredding, fiber mulch, and eco-tack for soil erosion, and then reclamation of any other kind of problem areas that come up. So you can see, now I have to remember, this was the tillage radishes that were planted one year to break up some soil compaction. And then there's the fiber mulch being sprayed on to the roadside, kind of looks green. And that's a project that our guys do usually in the springtime. So you can see there's the straw shredding, and that's kind of what it looks like. So if you see that, you'd be like, oh, that's what that is. So our vegetation management program is the roadside mowing and spot spraying program. So this piece of equipment here is the Dagelman sidearm, and it We have 4 of them. 2 of them have a wet blade, so they apply herbicide at the same time as mowing, which is something that we've actually been doing for a long time at Wheatland County with our previous. We had a grader that had a kind of a but like a retrofit to it where we were spraying at the same time, and we were basically the only ones in the province who were able to spray and mow at the same time. So we've continued that tradition on with our new mowers. And I think they've been working really well because we keep buying more of them. So we do the cut stem treatment for brush control with Garlon RTU, and that usually happens during the winter. And then hamlet spraying as needed, and spraying of gravel pits and borrow areas. And then we also have a roadside hay permit program for producers who want to hay their roadside ditches. And here's just some pictures of, there's our old grader that did the mowing and the spraying. There's another one. And then, you know, we also have a quad where we do some of the hamlet vegetation management. And then I just have Russell's old pictures in here. So that's where we started. And then kind of gradually working our way up to what we have now. So our ASB weed inspection program includes inspection of private and public lands, inspection of the villages, so standard Rockford and Huzzar, the purple loosestrife program on the Bow River, provincial and federal weed surveys, which pop up every once in a while, landowner education and awareness. So we have our weed guide that we worked on in partnership with the Alberta Invasive Species Program, and that's been distributed province-wide. And we have done some biological weed control along the river in the past. And then we're also involved in the Calgary Area Intergovernmental Weed Control Program. So that's just working together on kind of problem weeds in the Bow region. And then our staff also inspect and license the Huzzar Rosebud and Strathmore seed cleaning plants. There's a picture of the biological control. They come in different forms. This one is the scentless chamomile seed weevil, I think. So the ASB pest management programs include pest control rental equipment, bait stations for control of Richardson's ground squirrel on county-owned land and in the hamlets. And then right for now, the coyote predation control program. We also do the agricultural pest surveys, like I talked about with the grasshoppers and the Bertha armyworms and clubroot. And we get called out to do pest inspections, and then also education and awareness. So here's our skunk traps and our magpie traps that we rent out. And then our gopher control program includes, you'll see our bait stations. You can see them probably out in our yard, and then in some of the schoolyards. We use the ZP oat bait, and then previously we have used our Rocon unit, which is a foam that gets sprayed down into the hole. And then the 1080 program, which is poison for control of coyotes. So just here's a picture of, here's Alyssa Hallgrimson. She's on maternity leave right now. She's doing the grasshopper surveys, which is, I'm so happy to have somebody else to do that. And that's usually done usually in August. And then we have our Bertha Army traps. So they go out to set fields and they get checked once a week for, I think, a month. And so you have to go and count all the moths in there, and that's also kind of gross. And then clubroot, we do one township. So we end up doing about 100 surveys in the fall for looking for clubroot, and we've been pretty lucky so far. There's been only one site detected in the county. And we, and then we get called out for pest inspections. And I had a copy of a photo of a wild boar that was shot just across the road over there. And, but we also just got this, this picture. I thought it was really funny because somebody phoned in and said, we have wild boars, but they're just cute little potbelly pigs. Yeah, and we get lots of rat calls, and they always end up being muskrats. So yeah, and actually this is a picture of a wild boar scat that I had seen in the Rosebud River Valley. So that's. So our pest education, you know, we fund the Alberta Invasive Species Council, and they do lots of work on aquatic species and rats and the wild boars, as well as all of the weeds. So they kind of take care of a lot of that pest education component. Our agricultural recycling program, so grain bag rolling has been, I guess they've had their busiest year ever last year, which is a good sign that there was a lot of production last year. So they've been going full on, and I know this is a service that the ratepayers really appreciate, and it kind of helps to manage that plastic waste on our landscape. And yeah, and if you drive past the yard now, you'll see it's just full of those plastic bales. And then we also have the twine bags are available at the waste transfer sites. So our rental equipment program, we have a pasture sprayer, the weed wiper, the skunk traps, magpie traps, the forage sampler, the cattle moving and crossing signs, the tree sprayer, the tree planter, which has been here since the very first ASB, and our grain bag roller, and then kind of new to this lineup is our Rocon unit. So those are all available for our ratepayers to rent. So our partners, they're a key component of our programs and benefit both our partners and our the landowners in Wheatland County. So we'll be talking about them later. I won't go over it too much, but these are all key parts of our program for sure. So we've been supporting the 4-H for the past 5 years by supporting an individual purchasing their steer or their sheep and then donating the meat to the food bank. But going forwards, this funding is just going to be,
Split amongst
Split
the
amongst them
5
all,
clubs that are,
yeah.
so that it's more equally distributed.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
Give to, yeah.
Thanks for jumping in there. And then emergency livestock preparedness. So in 2020, 2021, we worked with Jennifer Woods, who is a specialist in livestock handling, and she trained under Temple Grandin, and she helped us and Rocky View County to develop a plan and some tools for producers if they do have a mass mortality or a fire. And so those are really good resources. I don't know if a lot of producers know that's there. And it probably, could be something that's looked at again in the future to update those tools. So our extension programs, we have lots of different events throughout the year. Coming up, we have a tree care workshop. We've had lots of workshops called the Working Well program and the Septic Sense workshop. Albert Anderson, our Ag Services Officer, he does the classroom agriculture program. So we'll go to the classroom and talk about agriculture. It's grade 2 that they go to. And then the Red Bow Agriculture Partnership is a partnership between Wheatland, Rocky View, Bighorn, Knee-Hill, Mountain View, and Red Deer County, and Cows and Fish, Lakeland College, Olds College, and I think who else? Oh, the Foothills Forage and Grazing Association. So every year that partnership holds the Ranching Opportunities Conference in Olds College, and then also the ladies livestock lessons, which moves around every year. So those two events are actually coming up in the next month. The Foothills Forage and Grazing Association is one of our partners, and they hold a lot of events in our county. So it's nice to have them there. They do all the work and we just put our logo on it, and that's great. Yep. And then we contribute to the county newsletters, social media, and we have lots of print material as well. That's just some ads from last year. These are some fact sheets we have. So we have one on pollinator projects, accepting soil onto agricultural land, and then ground squirrel control. We have the Thurn Riparian Grazing Demonstration, which is at the Thurn Pit, which is a county-owned gravel pit by Bicycur, kind of in between Bicycur and Irricana. And we've used this site as a demonstration site for the last 20 years. It has a wet well, so you can see there's a picture of it here. That's the final product. And we lease this land out for grazing. But then it's also available if we have a workshop, or here's a picture here. We did a bioengineering workshop, which is the practice of taking live willow stakes and planting them into the ground to reestablish vegetation in a riparian area. And you can see we have multiple troughs that our watering systems pumps to. It's about 300 acres. And so right now it's not being leased because we're thinking about what we're going to do there next. So the Environmental Farm Plan Program is a program that's mandated by the province that our resource stream, which is me, supports. So it's a whole farm assessment and is required by quite a few different programs. The Alberta Potato Growers, Alberta Dairy, the Agri-Invest program, McCain's Fries, the RAR Malting. So it's kind of a good tool. Last year was my busiest year ever. I think I did 45 EFBs. And so that kept me very busy. So yeah, I'm the local technician. And then Foothills Forage and Grazing Association also has a technician that will help in our area. So yeah, this is, whatever. Okay, so the Sustainable Canadian Agriculture Partnership Program, Christine talked about it a little bit, is another program that we support with technical support. And there's a whole bunch of different programs that are available to producers, and we can help them through that process and provide ideas for projects, or you name it, just fill out forms. So we have a number of awards, which we'll also be talking a little bit about after this. So we have our J. Laszlo, our Environmental Stewardship Awards, which includes the J. Laszlo Stewardship Award, the Youth Stewardship Award, the Community Stewardship Award, and then we have the Women in Agriculture Award. And new for this year is the Master Farm Family Award. So here's a picture. Some of the people who've been awarded those over the years. So our scholarship is the same. So it's the ASB will provide up to $6,000 in scholarship annually, minimum award of $500, maximum award of $1,500, and that's an annual scholarship. These are some of the people who've won them over the years or received them. And then the BMO Farm Family Award, which is coming up as well. And then our county tree projects. So we have 3 projects on the go, which are funded by Wheatland County and Tree Canada and Fortis. And so there's about 5,000 trees that have been planted outside in our yard here, and another 5,000 in the hamlet of Rosebud on county-owned land. And then there'll be another area that's planted just as a visual barrier for the wastewater lagoon at Carsland. So yeah, that's been a labor of love. It's ongoing. And hopefully in 20 years, it will look great. So this is we had a tree planting event in Rosebud in 2024. And so I don't know if those of you know, but this is Laverne Erickson. He started the school, the theater school in Rosebud, and he's 80 and he came out and planted trees. And then we've also received thousands of yards of mulch from the town of Drumheller, from their Red Deer River flood mitigation project. So that has happened at a very fortuitous time. And we've been able to take advantage of all of that mulch, which I think will really increase the success of these projects. And last fall, we had a tour with the MP David Bexty, and we took him to this site here. So our funding programs, we have quite a few different funding programs. We have our Safe Water Well Action Program, which funds the abandonment of unused water wells and the removal of well pits. We also have the Wheatland Agricultural Stewardship Program, which funds a lot of the projects that end up being ALICE projects. That program is kind of open to any project on a farm that increases the environmental benefits, and it's 50% up to 5,000. I should say the Safe Water Well one it's 75% up to $2,500. And then the Shelter Belt and Eco Buffer Seedling Program is very successful. It opens in November and it closes in November. So yeah, it's really exciting to see the interest in that program. And then right now we have the Wheatland Watershed Resiliency and Restoration Program, which Christine was talking about. We have a grant, it's $265,000 for offsite watering systems and livestock crossings on ranches. And that program is almost fully allocated. So, and you can see Graydon here. He's one of our producers that we worked with. And that's what those watering systems looks like. Oh, actually, this one isn't a normal one, but so there's some more pictures of, there's a riparian fencing project, the offsite watering system, some trees, there's one of our crossing projects, and there's well abandonment. So our ALICE Wheatland program, I'll just quickly go over that because Christine did it mostly. We had a tour last fall. We hosted the Western Canadian ALICE communities, and we had 2 days, and we went and visited some of our best projects. So that was great. There's the Collins there, and we met with Jordan Sinclair, who's the new CEO. And then we have our PAC, which has changed again. So our ASB staff, this is the structure, the manager, the Ag Services Foreman, Ag Services Officer, Agriculture and Environment Program Coordinator. That's Alyssa Hallgrimson. She's on maternity leave. I'm the Agricultural Conservation Coordinator. Our Agricultural Services Sub-Foreman is Sheldon. And then we have 4 seasonal equipment operators. And then right now we have our ASB Tour Coordinator, which is Russell Muntrath. So there's just a picture of us in action. Okay, so I'm just going to really quickly go over the summer tour. Did you go over it yesterday or no?
No, I
Okay.
mentioned a few things, but yeah.
Okay, so things are,
Lunch is ready. If do you just have a few more minutes or?
yeah, this is my last slide.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So for the summer tour, we have our website is up and running, which can be found on the main Wheatland County website. We have our registration form is ready to go as of yesterday. And we have the facilities booked, the transportation booked, the sites have been chosen. And next week, I'll be attending the Ag Service Board Conference with a booth and with our video and our gum, which came today. And it has the date on it and a QR code, so you can register from your gum. And there's a big box of them, so hopefully we give them away. Just trying to think what else. We have contracted, an event advisor, which Donna Trotche, which you would have approved that, but she's been helping. She was the organizer of the Mountain View County, Red Deer County tour. So she's been able to provide some good insight. And I'm just going to play our video really quick. I can find it. How do I, there it is. Okay. So it's not totally finished yet, but as of tomorrow it will be.
Welcome to Wheatland County, where
Nope.
innovation meets
It's
tradition.
not playing.
in the heart of the agricultural landscape. Here at Wheatland County, agriculture isn't just what we do.
Do you know-
It's who we are. Our field.
Taylor, do you know why?
Hold it on. Oh, weird. You might have to end your,
Oh, and
yeah.
that's Graven's
Yeah.
voice.
You click here
Yeah,
and we'll just, oh yeah, it's, can you end the show? So you're not presenting?
I can
anything?
just like,
In slideshow
okay.
and then go back into YouTube and
Oh,
it should work now.
okay, perfect. Yes, thank you. Okay, here we go.
Welcome to Wheatland County, where innovation meets tradition in the heart of Alberta's agricultural landscape. Here at Wheatland County, agriculture isn't just what we do, it's who we are. Our fields, our farms, and our people tell a story of hard work, collaboration, and a deep respect for the land. This July 14th to 16th, 2026, we're proud to open our farm gates and welcome ASB members and municipal guests from across Alberta to the Wheatland County Agricultural Service Board Summer Tour. Over 3 days, you'll explore our rich agricultural heritage, meet innovative producers, and see firsthand how collaboration drives progress. From advanced grazing systems and shelter belt projects to value-added operations and conservation initiatives, the Wheatland Way is rooted in community, stewardship, and forward-thinking practices. You'll also enjoy our rural hospitality, local cuisine, evening events, and authentic connections with the people who make agriculture thrive here. At Wheatland County, we believe the future of agriculture depends on partnerships, innovation, and respect for the land. We can't wait to share our story and learn from yours. Join us this summer for the 2026 ASB Summer Tour, where innovation meets tradition.
Hey.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really.
Man, I
happy
feel a
how
little
that turned
weepy.
out. So I'm gonna play it round and round the clock for 3 days next week. And then Shannon's gonna play it at the Ag Service Board Conference, so. We're on track. Good, so that's everything that I have. Did you have any questions about our programs and services?
So I had mentioned just briefly to our council, but maybe you could make sure that I've covered it all. And this was at lunch, so some people might not have heard it, but we have 10 buses.
Yes.
And the sort of idea is that all of our council members and ASB members that can will host a bus. So you'll be on the bus traveling around with the people and speaking about things. So we'll have dry runs and we'll have speaking notes and
That's right.
everybody will know just what we're going to talk about. But just so that everybody knows, and we were thinking that maybe you might even need another person on the bus to help you with different things, getting people on and off, or collecting garbage on the bus, or whatever.
Handing out drinks.
So we were trying to think of how we do that if each of us invites somebody that we want to bring along with us, or there's just so many people that need to be involved with putting the event on.
That's right, yeah, it's. Yeah, but
And then, of course, we'll have our doing various welcomes and introductions and some other kinds of
yes,
jobs
Yeah.
as
I think we're basically at the point now where we can start putting more of a schedule together. And so more information will follow soon.
And so the committee has kind of finalized the tour stops, and so we know where it will all be and kind of a route. We need to still do
Yes.
some planning about timing and things like that.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I still need to work on our schedule and our timing. And then we will provide notes. We're going to do what's called a story map, which is like a digital map where you can have pictures of the locations that you're at and read about them and open a link. It's a bit more interactive than a paper version. And yeah, we'll provide notes of, points of interest along your route. Yeah, because there's going to be, we're going to have 2 buses kind of in tandem, and there'll be 5 different routes. And so it'll be, not everybody will be seeing things at the same time on the same route. So
Everybody will see the same things, but at different times.
that's right. Yes. Yeah.
Mhm. Any other questions? Yep. Okay, couple.
Sarah, just a question. Is there any discussion in the background, and maybe Greg would know this too, about classifying kochia as a noxious weed? I know.
The problem with kochia is it's too widespread, I think, to be classified as a noxious weed. It would be like classifying quackgrass as a noxious weed. It's beyond the point of you can't legislate it because you're just going to make everybody angry with you. So I think it's at the point where now we just are relying on research and new control measures coming forward. Yeah.
And education.
Yeah. Yeah.
Burl, we've discussed this before, and there's a couple of counties that have tried it with somewhat disastrous results. So when it was first brought up to, because I had one landowner bring it up to me, can we do that? And we had a fulsome discussion. He said, yeah, a dog's not going to hunt.
Yeah.
Thank you. One other, I got asked this a couple times last night. Any update on strychnine at all?
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, I could chime into that. So right now, Alberta and Saskatchewan have both put in applications for emergency use to the PMRA. We're waiting to hear back from the PMRA, whether those will be approved or denied or what the situation is going to be. They were supposed to let us know at the beginning of 2026, so it should be any day now. If we don't hear anything by the end of the month, I think the conversation will be had to put some pressure on our ministers to say, hey, what's going on? And get them to start looking into it and uphold these timelines, because it is on a very tight timeline. But that's where we're at right now, is waiting for an answer.
Nice to see everyone again. I've been here for a while, but great presentation. I really seen what the ASB and the video going out. It's nice to see that. Great. Just one thing I noticed when you saw the history here, we're at 80 years. Is that part of, we recognize that with our tour? Because I see the names of Keers and Harwoods and Deggs and Shears.
Yeah.
This would be a great opportunity to maybe add something to a banquet or something like that, where we bring some people up and say, hey, these are the people that are around.
Yeah.
And it's 80 years. Like, let's just coincide. I just kind of picked up on that one. So maybe you guys were already in that. So.
No, I really like that idea.
And then the municipalities within Wheatland County, Strathmore, are they notified of this? Are they asked to participate?
I do believe that Russ sent them a letter.
Okay.
Yeah, he had sent them a letter, and we will be asking like the mayor of Strathmore
For sure.
to
Yeah.
do a welcome to Strathmore.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are they welcome to participate as well?
I have left some spaces for dignitaries like that on our buses. So if they did want to participate, there would be opportunity.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to have them out on the tour to show them what we are and everything. And and as far as help on a bus, for me, I could probably pull some family members in. My tour guide daughter would be really good at this if she's not working. She's really good at this kind of stuff, and maybe even help another one if we need as well. I have to find out what her schedule's like, but.
Yeah, I think it depending on whether or not you want to do 2 days or 1 day, will impact how many people
we need. So I'll get in touch with everybody and find out kind of what your commitment can look like. So.
I'm available for whatever, not very far away, so.
Ryan.
Just to add to that, Scott, we did discuss potentially, bring a friend, just because it's going to be so hard to have support on the bus with so many buses running. So I think once we get finalized numbers, we'll be able to have a more clear picture of what that might look like. But just given the spread, we start thinking about it. This is a message to all of you. Start thinking about who you may bring along to support you, just as being that other person on the bus, because you're going to be engaged in the conversations and having some extra support.
The busing, is it school buses?
No, they're
Tour buses.
54 seater comfy buses with bathrooms.
Perfect. And they'll have a PA system in them, or do we know?
Yeah, we're contracting that service out to make sure that we have sound at our stops and on the buses, but the buses should have sound as well, but we're getting some technical support for that.
And then just one question. So I echo Scott. Great job, Sarah. Thank you so much for this. And being a producer in the county, I'm super grateful for the programs and the ERP and everything else that this ASB has supported. Regarding the livestock emergency piece, a question and a follow-up question: have we ever been utilized for that, or has that ever taken place in our county?
There hasn't been a large scale environmental emergency, I don't think, since that came into play, but there has been like hog barns that have burned down, and so it's at least having had that discussion about what's going to happen and who the resources are and is there. And whenever I fill out an environmental farm plan, I take producers to that page on our website and I say, have a look through these. Maybe not relevant, doesn't seem relevant, but good to review anyways. So yeah. And then and the RCMP do come and they, they are the ones who are dealing with the majority of those situations which are happening on the highways. So
a follow-up question: do you feel supported with this? I know that we had some nonprofit organizations that had previously supported this that are no longer in existence.
Yeah.
Do we run drills, or do you feel supported in this if we were to have this?
Yeah, so this is not my project. This was something that that Russell and George had worked on in 2021, and it was in partnership with Rocky View, and Jennifer Woods. And I don't know if the farm animal care was involved. That's who you're referring to. Yeah. So I think it could be time to just have a review and see that everything's up to date. But yeah, I think, it's not my specialty. So.
No, thank you. Just looking for clarity, and you provided it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Anybody online? Donna or Glenn?
No, I'm good. If you
No,
can
it's
hear
all
me.
good. Good presentations. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that. I'll call for a motion to accept for information, and then we can break for lunch.
So moved.
Thank you very much. I'll just call the question. I'm in favor.
In favor.
In favor?
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
Great, that is carried. So I'll propose that we break for lunch. Should we just break for a half an hour, given that we're kind of behind schedule on everything's kind of backing up? Yep. Let's come back at 1 o'clock then, if that's okay with everyone. Great. Thanks very much.
I'm in favor.
In favor.
Okay, that's carried. So we are going to move into closed session, and we'll be back shortly. Hi, everyone. I'll call this meeting back to order. We were just in camera, so I will move us out of in camera, and I'll call the question. I'm in favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
Oh, I didn't think they were coming back.
No, and just for the record, members Bigger and Kester are not returning to the meeting following our closed session. So we have one motion arising from the in-camera session.
That
Does
was on
anybody
that
still have
sheet.
it? Yeah, we all.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that Wheatland County Agricultural Services Board direct administration to support the board's selected nominee for the 2026 Calgary Stampede Bank of Montreal Family Farm Awards as discussed in camera.
Thank you very much. Shouldn't be any discussion. I'll call the question. I'm in favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor?
In favor, but I have a point. Now that we don't have people online, we can just do a show of hands or something going forward.
I'll do that going forward. Thank you. That's carried. All right, now back to our agenda. We are under 2.3 new business. Number 1 is the 2026 ASB donation requests.
Okay.
Brad, okay, thanks.
Good afternoon, Brad Bullock presenting this report. So the administration has received a few donation requests so far at the tail end of 2025. We do anticipate that we'll likely receive a couple more as we move forward, but of the ones that we received right now, they are listed in the report. So one is for the Red Deer River Watershed Alliance, for the Alberta Invasive Species Council, and the Foothills Forage and Grazing Associations, and the requested amounts and the letters are within the report as well. These are organizations that the board has consistently supported in the past as well, and with similar donation requests as the board has received in prior years. And that there is some more information about each of the organizations within the report that I won't worry about going through here, but for the board's reference, if I'm here for any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Board's wishes?
I move that the board direct administration to donate the listed dollar values funded from the applicable ASB donations to the organization 2026 operational budget line items.
Great, thank you very much. Any discussion? Hearing and saying none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 2.3.2, Agriculture Service Board Awards Policy Update.
Good afternoon, Brad Bullock presenting the Agriculture Service Awards Policy Update Report. So this is actually a policy that the board approved back in 2025. In that policy, there were some procedural aspects of it, just in terms of when administration was to advertise the awards and receive the applications, and then take it to the awards committee, and then make that award. One of the things that we ran into or discussed this first go around is it's probably better for the administration to wait until the ASB has approved their proposed budget to go to council, and then wait for council to actually approve the interim budget. And there's just because there's some risk potentially of if administration advertises the awards ahead of that those budgets don't get approved by the ASB or council. So we thought just to change a few of the terms within the policy, just to make sure that that budget does get approved prior to advertising for those awards. And then subsequently, we pushed back the date that the award applications are due. It doesn't change the date necessarily for when the awards can be provided, which is still anticipated for the April ASB meeting. It just gives a little bit less time for the committee to review the awards. However, in our opinion, there's still enough time to take care of that. So it's just some minor procedural changes in the the policy. The draft policy is attached to the report with the changes highlighted, and I believe the old policy is there as well for reference, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions for administration? Board's wishes.
I'll move that the board approve the revised Wheatland County Agricultural Service Board Awards Policy 3-2-10 or 3.2-10 as presented.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We can move on to point number 3, Alice Committee Terms of Reference Update.
Okay, so we have just made some pretty minor changes to the Alice terms of reference. It ended up being quite a lot of sort of structural changes, but the main change of note is in the members, the PAC members. It previously stated that there would be the farmer members will kind of be automatically appointed to the PAC, the ASB members at large, and then there'll be a minimum of 2 ASB members on the committee. And so we have removed those sort of restrictions and changed it to a minimum of 1 ASB members, opening it up to more, but a minimum of 1. And then also removing the requirement for the ASB members at large to sit on that committee. Hopefully they still will sit on that committee, but rather than forcing it upon them, it's more of a voluntary position. And that's the kind of the gist of the changes. That's, yeah.
Great, thank you very much. Okay. Any questions to administration?
Sorry, to the board through the chair. Between submitting this report and presenting it, we noticed one aspect of the terms of reference that we thought might be useful adding as well. We thought about bringing it to the next meeting, but we thought while we were visiting it, we could ask the board if they were interested. And that is, right now, the terms of reference doesn't specifically address how the ALICE coordinator is put into place on the board. So how that does work is that individual in the, I'm drawing a blank on your position title, conservation coordinator, is hired in as part of the responsibilities to be the ALICE coordinator. So it's not something that needs to happen often, but it just for completeness, we thought it might be good to add a paragraph in there just so it's not blank, and it just explains for information how that position is appointed onto the committee. So we do have a recommended paragraph to add, which earlier this morning it was with yeah, but so I can read it out, and then if the board is interested in adding that, then they can maybe just pass a resolution, add to that resolution with the addition as discussed or something like that.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, go ahead and do that.
I will do that.
So just so I can follow along on the terms of reference, where would you be putting it, just so I can visualize membership?
Sure. So I'm just going to pull that up on my computer really quickly. The thought was to insert it. So on page 3 of the terms of reference, or 48 of the agenda, where it says appointment and terms.
Okay.
The thought would be to insert it into that section, probably after the first paragraph and then before the last.
Okay.
And I will read that out for the board here. So the proposed wording was a Wheatland County staff member shall serve as the PAC coordinator to the committee. This role will be fulfilled by the Wheatland County Agricultural Conservation Coordinator, or if that position is vacant or renamed, by another county staff member assigned by administration under the authority of the Chief Administrative Officer.
I see we have it up on our computers, so that's good.
Oh, perfect. Yes, that's it.
Any questions or concerns about that? Or anything about the revised terms? Board's wishes.
Screen, it's kind of come over top, but maybe read out the whole thing, but I'll amend the current motion to include the language surrounding the PAC coordinator. So I would move that the board approve and update the term of references for ALUS, Wheatland Partnership Advisory Committee, PAC, as presented in the attached document, and including an update, including the recommended amendment to the PAC coordinator as presented by staff.
Great, thank you. We'll just give administration a chance to type that in. Yeah.
Control C, Control V.
Does that look right?
That looks correct.
Great. All right, any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, on to reports and related business. The chair's report. Hold on to get to it. There we go. My report is on page 61. We enjoyed a great South Region conference held in Elkwater, Cypress County, October. It was a great experience for new ASB members. These regional conferences are excellent, and yeah, I'm glad that we have the opportunity to go. I guess much else to really highlight. I think I talked a little bit about some of the stuff at our council meeting. I listened to I guess for some of our people not on council, ASB and ADM virtual town hall. So the ADM of Agriculture and Irrigation, John Conrad, provides a biannual virtual town hall where you can just call in. And so he just reports on the government's progress on various issues that ASBs raise. And so, yeah, there's just a few things there that were of interest in this area, including, of course, strychnine ongoing issue that is still with the federal government. They talked a little bit about the studies to support the building of Iremore Dam near Bizano. So that's a kind of an interesting thing. Yeah, so I'll leave that. Summer tour, of course, is progressing very well, as we've heard. And I also attended online a webinar from the Provincial Ag Service Board, where they are working to fine tune and make the resolution sessions easier to navigate in the conferences. They have been problematic in the past, and so they are working towards making them more effective and efficient, less back and forth with making changes to resolutions and that kind of thing. So I'm proud of them for addressing that. It is an issue, and so they are trying very hard to make it a better process for everybody. So with that, I will move my report as presented. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. We'll move on then to our 2025 fourth quarter agricultural fieldman report, which, thank you, Graydon.
This is Graydon Garner presenting the 2025 fourth quarter agricultural fieldman report. My report is on page somewhere of the agenda. 63. There we go. If anybody has any questions on the report, I am here to answer them. I will do whatever you would like. Here to please, Rick.
Okay. All right, there's a couple of possible resolutions if anybody wants to make, if there's no questions.
I'll move that the board accept the agricultural fieldman's report as information.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. And one more, there's a resolution tracker that can be reviewed. Couple of longer term items, but otherwise.
Yeah, so there's the one resolution that I would like to speak to. I believe it is number 2. So from July 3rd, 2024, it reads that Wheatland County approved that DUC, which stands for Ducks Unlimited Canada, sole entity county acts as a silent partner and does not act in any capacity other than acknowledging the pilot's delivery within the municipal boundaries and provide awareness support throughout communications. This came from a pilot program that Ducks Unlimited was looking at implementing in 2024. They were going to use Wheatland County as their pilot county. What I know from the program is it did not actually get approval from management within Ducks Unlimited, so it did not actually go through. So I believe this point can be removed from the resolution tractor as it is no longer applicable. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to add to that, through the chair, what we can do is just for the next meeting, show it as complete and explain that. But we thought, because we were discussing this recently, we just thought we'd let the board know, and then we'll just mark it complete for the next meeting.
Okay, sounds fair. Then a motion to accept the resolution tracker information.
So moved.
Oh.
It's okay.
Okay.
I'm used to it.
Thank you very much. I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. We then just have our correspondence is the final issue on item on the agenda. Any questions about that?
Yeah, I actually got.
You gonna?
I have just a little information that we should probably get on the record. The CFIA, which is a Canadian Food and Inspection Agency, set out to restart a very onerous program of tracking the movement of all cattle throughout Canada within 1 week. And they were actually already starting to apply to have producer group meetings. So right away, my phone lit up. And so I talked to some industry representatives and some packers. They were not the ones behind it. It's clearly some overreach by the feds. And last Saturday, January 10th, the only retraction that I've seen was that our Premier Danielle Smith on social media put it out that there is going to be a pause. Doesn't mean that it goes away, right? So I think we need to be aware of that. Like they haven't. That legislation's been sitting around in the feds, for a while now. So I think we need to be aware of it. But at the moment, it is retracted. It's not industry driven, and our premier is put it on hold. Thank you.
Just to add to that I would suggest anybody with concerns about that should contact MP David Bexty. It's a federal initiative, and I think it, for sure the province always helps us out with advocacy, but that's the main person to go to for federal items. Yep. Go ahead.
Sorry, thank you. Through the chair again. There was one additional correspondence item that was provided to administration again after the agenda was submitted and posted. It's related to, it was distributed to the board members, I think, in hard copy at the beginning of the meeting, so each of the board members should have that. It does become effective March 7th, and so the county was planning to post that on our website and social media channels, but we thought it was important to get that in front of the board before we do that. Given that it does become effective March 2nd, that's before the next ASB meeting, so we wanted to bring it up here. So administration is just providing that to the board for your information. If the board wants to, they can also amend the resolution just to include the correspondence items listed in the report in addition to this one. And we did draft up a possible recommended resolution if the board would like that. And I'll send that to Diane. Oh. But the resolution is pretty simple. It's just to accept that one and with the addition of the Compound 1080 Product Stewardship Program update letter.
Okay.
If wanted. It's not necessary, but
Right.
whatever the board wants.
All right. And just a motion to accept either the correspondence included in the package, or you can also include this Compound 1080 Stewardship Program update. Go ahead.
So before I make the motion, you know, there's an easy way to get people on board for the training for this Compound 1080. Just tell them it works on gophers. Anyway, I'll move that we accept the correspondence items as information, including the correspondence on Compound 1080 Product Stewardship Program update.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Yep. All right, the motion is before us on the screen. Any questions? I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, that takes us to the end of our agenda. Thank you, everyone. I'll adjourn the meeting.